Hello. Brad Spencer here from the OnlineEmpireAcademy.com, and I wanted to shoot this quick video to talk about something that is really a simple framework that I use to analyze any business opportunity, product, business line, project, anything along those lines. I use this to quickly determine if it's a great opportunity and fits into what I'm doing right now, and this is really the simplest way to prevent yourself from getting overwhelmed, and also to prevent yourself from entering into something that you don't fully have vetted, and prevent those opportunities that suck all your attention and don't get what you want. So I'm going to jump right in. This video won't be terribly long, but it's a very simple framework that you can use and put into place no matter what business it is. Brick and mortar, online, it doesn't matter. I've used it for everything. So let's jump in. A little bit about me. That's me. One of the few times you'll see me in a jacket and shirt. I was still wasn't going to wear a tie, but hey, whatever. That was a speaking event I did over in Manchester, England. But a little bit about me. I love business, okay? So I've been online marketing since '08. I've owned a small restaurant that I took to the top 50 restaurants in Orlando. Sold that back in 2010 or 11, something like that. I don't remember exactly. And then I went full-time online. But I started out in '08. I worked for Disney here at Walt Disney World after graduating college in a recession, which is a long story, but I can tell you that recession was a lot crazier. So I worked for Disney, but one of the greatest experiences of my life, and I learned how to quickly analyze things. In fact, I still use this framework. I actually go to Disney and use this framework to analyze opportunities at Disney and how they do stuff, just as practice, because I love Disney World. But anyways, so I've owned online businesses. I've done everything from online webinar brokering to JV brokering, product creation, online stuff, the restaurant, sold cruises, done a little bit of everything in the last 8 or 9 years or whatever since I started in business. I never really had a corporate type job, but that's fine because, I was always meant to be in business and I love it. So, but one thing about me, a little bit of a damaging admission, if you will, is that I get sucked into things very easily because I love business and I love exciting. I'm very curious naturally. I'm always digging into something. I tend to get sucked into things in the past, and so I developed this framework to kind of give myself like a check valve, if you will. In football, they have check downs when other receivers downfield are covered and they got a backup guy to throw it to. Like, this is my check down. This is how I prevent myself from starting too many projects at once and going into things with my eyes wide open, pluses or minuses, because there's pros and cons to everything, and this is a great way to get them all down when it comes to the big picture and see if it's something you really want to do. So this, like I said, 3-letter framework, it's really simple. It'll actually be so simple, you'll be like, why didn't I think of it first? And that's exactly why it works, because it works on every type of business and project, no matter what. So let's jump right in to the framework. A little bit of a quote there. Simplicity is the ultimate form of sophistication. I really love that quote. And that's why I want to get you guys in the framework of thinking everything needs to be simple. And if you can't answer these 3 letters in this framework, you should not take on the project, because simplicity is the ultimate form of sophistication. Da Vinci was a pretty smart dude. All right. So the simple framework that I'm going to share with you today is what I call the LCF. Okay. Now, it's not fancy. But that's what makes it work, because it is the workhorse of all my projects, and we do really well in all my businesses. I am advisor for multiple different companies and things like that, and this is one of the things I have all of us do before we go into a project. So I'm going to jump into the 3 LCF factors, and I'm going to kind of give you a framework of how to use them when you're analyzing a project or a new business opportunity, okay? So the first letter stands for lead generation. So here's the thing. LCF is everything in every business has an LCF. Every product line, every business division, if you will. Even if you're all the way up to big companies, it's very fractal, meaning that it looks the same as you get bigger and as you go smaller. Everything is LCF, okay? So the first L stands for lead generation. That means every business and project you have has to have some form of lead generation. If you're selling on Amazon and drop shipping, that would be Amazon generating leads for your listings. If you were, like in my case, back in the restaurant days, that was people walking by my storefront or driving by and seeing one of our signs. That was a lead generation. Or some of the outbound marketing we did, or partnering with local schools. That's all lead generation. So when you start a project, ask yourself, how am I going to get leads to this opportunity? Leads, prospects, whatever you want to call it, people that are interested in your product or service. You have to be very clear about this. This is one of those things where I notice a lot of people build things and they build the thing without knowing if there's anyone going to be able to see it. And there's really no point in building something if you don't have a way of getting eyeballs, whether it's on the web page and selling a digital product or selling an e-commerce type situation or even a brick and mortar business. You can have a great business, but if no one knows you're there, you're not going to be in business very long. So that's the L. So ask yourself, how am I going to generate leads for this project? What's the traffic going to come from? And every business at some level has this, no matter how complicated, from pharmaceuticals all the way down to a simple Shopify store, okay? All right, the next one is the conversion. What's the conversion? And I always put the engine there too. Like, what's the mechanism for converting it? Is it a webinar? Is it a sales letter? Is it your Shopify store listing or the Amazon listing? Or is it having a cash register in a store that converts people and you can see the food, in our case of a restaurant, where you can see the food or a menu, those types of things. Ask yourself how you're going to convert people to customers. When I see a lot of people start on businesses, and what ends up happening is they build something, they work on, we have the greatest product in the world. And then I always ask them, when they come to me, and a lot of people come to me with like, well, it's not really making that much money. And I'm like, okay, well, how are you selling it? That's what I get. Like, I get the right? And I know exactly when something's not selling, why it's not selling is because either they haven't gotten the leads, and if they haven't gotten the leads, that's probably because they don't have a solid conversion, which, at times, the frustration with this, and this is why I'm teaching you this now, is that you can get into a situation where you might not know how to get leads to get your initial conversions, which means you can't scale your lead generation. And it kind of creates a catch-22 a little bit. That's why it's always important to go into a project knowing how to solve that catch-22 before it even exists. So what's your conversion engine? Whether it's a sales page or a webinar or video sales letter or something like that, if it's like a digital product, or if it's a great way to generate listings on Amazon that get people to buy your products, if you're in, like, say, an Amazon type of business model. Okay, so the conversion, what's the conversion engine for the business or business opportunity that you're analyzing right now? All right. And the last one is the easy one that a lot of people focus on more, but it's actually the least important thing because it's the easiest to outsource or figure out, is fulfillment. How do you keep the promise that you made when you generated a lead and you converted them into a customer? How do you deliver the product or service that you're promising that you would and you sold them? In my case, in the restaurant, we ordered really good food. And we had systems for making sure we had all the food that we needed in the restaurant based on previous sales. And we had kind of like some basic modeling where we knew how much, turkey to order or bread to order, something like that. If you're on Amazon, you might have more complicated engines to make sure you have inventory in place. If you're drop shipping, maybe you have good relationships with your wholesaler so that, you're communicating an order from Amazon to your specific vendor who then fulfills the offer for you, and you make a spread in the middle. This is where a lot of people focus a lot of their energy when they're starting out a new business. And the problem with this is that it's great to have that, and it's great to have solid. Obviously, I'm not by any means saying that you shouldn't focus on fulfillment and delivering your promises, obviously. But the problem is that without leads and conversion, you don't have any need for fulfillment because you ain't going to sell anything, right? So at the end of the day, fulfillment is critical, but it's also one of the simplest things. I always say, like, fulfillment's like 10% of the process and the rest of it's 90% of the process. Conversion is like, say, 70%. Lead generation is 20%. And I always say that because once you have something that's converting, there's a million ways to get traffic because the numbers pencil out. You can either use paid ads or affiliates or something like that, or pay for ads in the brick and mortar world. If you know every person who comes into the business is going to turn into a customer, you know how much you can afford to spend to get your lead generation. Okay, so that's LCF. So at the end of the day, the main takeaways I want you to get is before you really analyze any opportunity in business, okay, don't get out of the hype, get out of the excitement, get out of that natural exuberance, we all have as entrepreneurs, and really ask yourself, what's the LC and F about everything I'm doing? How am I going to generate leads? How am I going to generate conversions? How am I going to get fulfillment, okay? Number two, once you know and have a pretty solid, grounded, well thought out idea on the LCF, are you 100% aligned with what they entail? Sometimes, you might not want to, you might look at an opportunity and say, hey, right now, I don't have time to learn Facebook ads because I'm working on 2 other things and I have a job. So this opportunity is a great opportunity, but right now I just can't prioritize it because I don't have the time to learn the ads and get the lead generation down. Doesn't mean that it's wrong. It just might be wrong for you right now. If you are aligned with it, obviously do it. If you're not, consider finding a solution. Maybe you partner with somebody, or maybe you find a simpler way, or just drop the project. Taking a bad deal is worse than taking no deal. Contrary to what everyone says, the taking massive action thing doesn't really work when you're successful. A lot of massive action people are very focused. That's what they don't tell you. It's not massive action doing a lot of things. It's massive action focused on a couple key things. All right. So takeaway number 3, this simple framework will prevent you from taking on too many projects at one time and dropping the ball. This is a huge thing with new entrepreneurs. You don't get paid to start. The sexiness is in the starting. The money comes from the completing. All right, listen, let me say that again. The sexiness comes from the starting. The money comes from the completing. The guy or gal who wins in business wins because he or she completes projects. Completion is where it's at, okay? And this simple framework, by taking on less, you'll complete more, and then eventually you'll get more money by default. Because most people who fail actually are terrible completers. They're great starters. They see an email for something, or they read a magazine and see something that someone else is doing, and they're like, oh, I want to do that too. And they dive into it, and they hit a difficulty, and then they quit 80% in. And they have a whole bunch of 80% completed projects. Hopefully that's not you, but if it is, get back to LCF and don't take on things until you actually know you can complete them, because that's where the money's at. All right, and the last takeaway, almost every bit of stress in business that I have ever had is due to making a mistake on one of these 3 things. Trust me, I still, every once in a while, I'm not perfect. I'm just like you. I am not a perfect person. I make this mistake, and I can tell you for a fact, this has cost me tens of thousands of dollars just in the last year alone by making these mistakes, okay? At the end of the day, if you master these 3 things on any project that you do, you will save a lot of time. You'll have a lot less stress. You'll actually make more income in revenue in your business. And guess what? You'll do it with a lot less stress. And that's what we're all about here at the Online Empire Academy, is creating businesses that are fun, profitable, and scalable without a whole lot of stress, because that sucks. We don't want to do that. All right. So at the end of the day, if really recommend you go back to the Online Empire Academy, our main homepage. We've got a lot of great tutorials on there that you can implement in your business. If you're in the dropshipping space, that's what it's all about. We are all about building assets and creating freedom using online marketing. So if that sounds like something you really like more of, go check out our website, theonlineempireacademy.com. And this is Brad Spencer, in case you never forgot my name already, but hopefully not. And I will see you real soon. Thank you.